I'm the Mythology Guy, and today we're going to talk about the Lucifer TV show. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Yes, I had to put a towel over my window because, as you can see, the light coming through there is so intense, like, the video wasn't even... Until I put that up, you wouldn't have been able to see me at all. Apollo's mad at me. He's sick and tired of all the jokes I keep making at his expense. I'm not going to stop. Give it up. But yeah, the Lucifer TV show, Season 5, Part 2 just recently dropped. I'm sorry it took me, I think it came out about a week ago. But, I've been really busy with stuff, and, it takes a while to watch, a season. But what was weird about this season was it was Season 5, Part 2. Like, normally, Part 1 of a season happens during the fall months, and then Part 2 happens during the spring months, but it's mainly because of the pandemic. It took them a long time to drop Part 2 of Season 5. It took them... how long as, like a year? Jeez. Like, at that point, it's just another season, practically. You could have easily just called this Season 6, and we would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Also, apparently this was originally supposed to be the last season until the show was unexpectedly renewed for a Season 6, and Season 6 will be the last season, and I'm happy about that, because there's not a lot left they can go with this show. I think it's time to wrap things up. But the show as a whole, the Lucifer TV show, is a lot of fun, in my opinion. Obviously, it's mythology-related, it's about Lucifer, and... So I'll give you the basic premise here. It is a... I mean, you can kind of tell if you've seen the trailer, but it's where the devil doesn't want to run hell anymore because he's tired of it, and he wants to come live on Earth. Now, apparently he's, in the lore of this show, he's come to Earth before. Every now and then he gets tired of hell and wants to come hang out on Earth for a while. And then, but he always has to go back because, the angels come down. They're like, dude, you got to go back to hell. He's like, fine, and he goes back. But in this show, he doesn't go back. Well, that's the main plot anyway. He's saying, I'm not going back. I'm staying here on Earth. Like, he's had his wings cut off in order to make it so he can't go back, because apparently he can't go back without his wings. And the show is very much one of those cop dramas. Lucifer teams up with a cop, and they solve mysteries together. It's so ridiculous when you think about it. But the funny thing is, even though the cop drama cliche is absolutely done to death, I've made fun of it in a video. I made a video called The Cop Drama Pattern. We've had cop teams up with zombie, cop teams up with robot, cop teams up with Sherlock Holmes, cop teams up with immortal person, cop teams up with writer, cop teams up with Ichabod Crane, and on and on and on. But I like them. I love the cop drama cliche, honestly. Because I still watched all those shows. I still really liked it. I think it's a crime that Forever got canceled after Season 1. I love that show. Fuck, I really wish that it got another season. And this is one of them. I like this show a lot. I like cop shows, and I love supernatural stuff for obvious reasons, so this show's a lot of fun for me. And it's really interesting, because I'm Christian Catholic, so, some of you might be thinking, well, is this offensive, to Christians? It could be, but I think you'd have to be kind of trying to get offended by this show. Also, I'm sure a lot of people will be going, this portrays the devil in a good way, but, it's not like they don't acknowledge that he's done bad things and that there are bad things about him. And also, the main thing you have to look at here is you need to realize they're not trying to actually tell you that the devil's a good person. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. This is a fictional story. This is just for fun. This is just to enjoy. And that's how I looked at it. And so, yeah, it never bothered me. I was fine with it. And I like this show a lot. But this show is a lot of fun. This show is really funny, also. I think that's one of the main things they're going for. They're trying to be funny. They're trying to have fun. They have musical numbers in this show occasionally, for Pete's sake. And... so yeah, obviously the main intention is to be funny. But, for a show with such a silly premise that is clearly mainly trying to be funny, it's very well executed, and they got some good actors here, very good at portraying the characters. The guy playing Lucifer, I think his name is Tom Welling or Tom Wells. He does a great job. Like, and I mean that on multiple levels. He can be very charming. He's a very charming man. He can also be very funny with his delivery, like with that witty charm he has, and then like the way he plays Lucifer has also this naivete to him that can also be very funny. But the thing is, he also has a very upright and dignified posture, like at all times, it seems. He wears the hell out of the suits he wears, and on top of all that, though, he can be intimidating when he wants to be. There are some moments where he, like, stops being funny and starts trying to be the devil in scenes, like when he's mad at someone or when he's, like, trying to intimidate someone. He does it well. Honestly, I could, if I, like, during the parts where this is meant to be taken more seriously, I look at him and I'm like, yeah, I could believe that that's the devil right there. Even though it's a silly premise, it's like, yeah, that's the devil in this silly premise, it feels like sometimes. And also another amazing actor is the guy playing Amenadiel. Amenadiel, for those of you who don't know, is an angel, and yeah, he's the angel that's trying to get Lucifer to go back to hell. And, you know, at first I thought Amenadiel was just going to be some douche character, and it's like, he's not going to be around that long, and might only be in season 1, and might get some kind of comeuppance because he's kind of being a dick. But actually, Amenadiel is a main character on this show, keeps appearing, and the actor playing him also, I kind of think this actor was born to play an angel. Not only does he have the look for it, but he's got the voice for it, he's got the attitude for it, he does a wonderful job. I have no trouble believing that that man is an angel, so good for him, also. The woman playing the detective, and I call her that because that's what Lucifer calls her. He always calls her the detective. He, like, honestly, you could probably count the number of times he calls her by her actual name on one hand. Her name is Chloe Decker, and, you know, it's a very cliched character of hers, the whole, oh, my father was a cop and he died and I want to take up his role, and, you know, I don't believe that you're the devil, but damn it, you're helpful and we gotta have you on these cases. And then later on it's, oh, well, you know, he's my friend and he's charming, so we're still gonna have him on these. It's incredibly cliched, but she is a very likable character. She's very lovable, very, you know, it's a very easy character to get behind. Also, this character has the patience of a saint. By the way, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers in the beginning of this. I'm going to give you a little rundown of basically what the show's like. Then I'm going to go into spoilers, talk a little about what I think of the show as a whole, and then really kind of talk about season 5. But yeah, the detective, like I said, she has the patience of a saint. I mean, with the way Lucifer behaves. Here's the thing, he's still the devil, so he still does and says some really stupid and immature stuff. Even though he's a likable character, but there are times where it's like, dude! Like, and yeah, so the detective amazingly puts up with all of this and does not, like, kick him out or anything. It's really kind of incredible how much this woman puts up with. She also has a daughter who is just so lovable. And then we've got the detective's ex-husband, Dan Espinosa, who, when he's introduced, you kind of think you're supposed to hate this character. Even Lucifer calls him Detective Douche. But I'm not going to give it away, but, like, it's kind of amazing. Like, I really like some of the things they do with him, and I'll talk about that more in spoilers. But yeah, I really like Dan Espinosa as a character. And there's tons of other characters who you think you're just going to hate, but then, you know, they kind of surprise you with it, and I'll get into those in spoilers too. But of course, a character who comes in season 2, who is probably my favorite character, is Ella. Ella is just the most lovable, ray of sunshine, fun, wonderful character. You know, like, she's always wearing shirts that have fun little things on them. She's always, like, she's a hugger. She's all these things. Like, Ella is like any guy who's single, like, that's the girlfriend you want, basically. Like, basically, like, every guy's, like, dream, like, lovable girlfriend. That's what Ella is, which is amazing because she's single for like the majority of the show. And I'm not, again, things I'm not going to give away, but like we don't see a lot of Ella getting together with anybody. But yeah, so the show as a whole is a lot of fun. There's a ton of funny jokes. Also another good thing about the actor who plays Lucifer is he's a great singer. We see him sing several times in the show, and he does a great job there. But yeah, show's a lot of fun. Show's got good musical stuff, except for one thing, which I will get into in spoilers. Show has really great characters played by very convincing actors. And also the show does have the supernatural stuff. It's not just the devil being a detective. They do have other angels appear. They have other biblical characters appear, which I was happy to see. They do have, like, demons and... Oh, yeah, one of the main characters is a demon, who is also really cool, and the actress playing her does a great job again. We also have a therapist character who's also really great. Basically, every character is good. Like, I can't think of a character that I wish had been cut out of the show. I honestly can't think of any. But yeah, so overall, very good show, and I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you already have a Netflix account. I think you should check the show out. This show, I'm so glad Netflix picked it up, because this show wasn't always on Netflix. It actually would have been canceled after season 3 on like the worst possible cliffhanger that they could have canceled on. But thankfully Netflix picked it up, and it's still going strong. Clearly they've given it a budget with some of the things they've done with it. So thank you, Netflix, for picking the show up. Very happy about that. Very happy that it was able to continue past season 3, and season 6 is already greenlit, and that's going to be the ending. So we're going to have a complete story. I always like that. I hate it when shows that I get into get canceled and we don't have a proper ending. I'm just like, one show I really liked was a show called Alcatraz, and that got canceled after season 1, and I was furious. I would have been really upset if, like, we didn't get to see the ending of this show. One of the only things that, my only small nitpicks with this show is sometimes some of the biblical characters are portrayed in a way that's, like, very much not how I would expect them to be portrayed. I mean, maybe you could argue that that's a good thing, but, like, they make a couple characters, like, very douchey, who it doesn't make any sense for them to be douchey if you know their stories. But I'll get into that in spoilers. Also, one kind of funny thing one thing I find a little weird about this also is Lucifer, when it comes to his dad, who is of course God, Lucifer acts like a teen who's constantly in his rebellious teen phase. He never leaves. He's like never left his rebellious teen phase, even though he's thousands of years old. It's kind of funny, honestly. But also one thing that is kind of weird is, like, Lucifer, and occasionally, like, other characters even agree with him. They're like, my father is a terrible father. I mean, I led a rebellion against him, and then he just threw me in hell forever. Like, who does that? And it's like, Lucifer, you led a rebellion against him. You're being punished. Like, you don't think you deserve punishment for that? What were you expecting? Just a little, that's not... No, you were sent to hell because your actions have consequences. In fact, I actually think that's the best way your father can teach you that actions have consequences, because hell is literally the land of consequences for actions in life. So sending Lucifer down there to rule hell for thousands of years is a great way to teach him about consequences, but I guess he didn't really learn it. I don't know. But overall, love the show. Really, really glad it didn't get canceled, and really glad that it's going to get a proper ending with season 6. I'm excited for it. I do find it weird that season 5 was split up into 2 parts that aired, like, one aired like a year and a half after part 1, but whatever, it's not a huge deal. If you're wondering why, hey, how come you're only making a video on the series now, 5 seasons in? Hey, I didn't have a YouTube channel when this show started. And I want to talk about it, because now, I wanted to get out how much I enjoy the show and some of my thoughts on it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say without spoilers. Now I will be getting into spoilers. Okay, so spoiler alert, and here we go. So, like I said, with Detective Dan Espinosa, like, yeah, you think he's gonna be the douche, you think he's gonna be a dick, you think he's gonna get arrested or killed by the end of the show. You also think Amenadiel is a douche and a dick, and he's gonna get either killed or, like, I don't know, like, sent as the new warden of hell by the end of the show. But both of them are actually not, they're three-dimensional characters. They have good and they have bad to them. And what's interesting, we actually find out that Dan is actually a really good guy. It's just like he doesn't like Lucifer for there's actually, if you think about it, there's a lot of reasons why a guy in Dan's position would not like Lucifer. There's this like club owner who breaks laws all the time is now like working with your ex-wife. It's and hitting on her constantly. Like, would you like that guy? I wouldn't like that guy. But Dan is honestly, and there's one of the scenes I love with Dan that I think really defined his character is when his ex-partner, now it's revealed that Dan did break a law one time, but we also find out that the reason he did it was to protect Chloe Decker. So it's like, okay, well, we don't know if we should say that he's good or bad. But then they define it later on when there's his ex-partner, who is very corrupt, tells Dan, all right, like, we can kill Lucifer together. And he even, like, kind of, I think he blackmails him or something. Yeah, he blackmails him. And he says, like, and, like, you know, you have to kill Lucifer, because otherwise I'm going to let this information out, like, and it's going to happen. And you know Dan hates Lucifer. And then later on, Dan goes to Lucifer, and he sees Lucifer being a total douche. And, you know, he looks at Lucifer and he's like, man, I was looking for one reason to have your back. And then he goes to his partner and he says, you're absolutely right about Lucifer. He's a jerk. He's selfish. I can't stand him. But then Dan pulls out his gun and points it at his partner and says, but I can't let you kill him. And I think that sums up Dan's character really well. That scene right there established the kind of person he is. I thought it was very well done. It shows, like, yeah, of course Dan doesn't like this guy, and there, of course, are, like, Dan isn't a perfect guy himself, like, but he's trying to do the right thing. Even when he absolutely hates someone, he's not going to murder them. He's still going to try to do the right thing. And I love that about him. Yeah, and, like, you know, he tries to save Lucifer's life. He ends up not really needing to. But yeah, and also, so yeah, and then Dan continues to be like that throughout the series. Now, one nitpick I have about it, though, is Lucifer finds out that Dan tried to save his life, and he also finds, like, Dan even, like, confesses to the law he broke in the past, like, to do the right thing. And there's a moment where Lucifer shows him some respect. Like, he says, Detective Espinosa, wow. And he's like, oh, you're not calling me Detective Douche anymore. I liked that. But then in the following seasons, it just devolves, right? But Lucifer just starts calling him Detective Douche again, and it's like he treats Dan like such a punching bag. It's like, why? Why do you treat him like crap? He's constantly insulting him and being a jerk to him. It's like, Dan doesn't deserve that. And you know Dan doesn't deserve that. Why are you being such a dick, Lucifer? I know he's the devil, but come on. So yeah, that's one of my nitpicks about the show as a whole, is Lucifer constantly treating Dan like a punching bag, even though he knows Dan is a good man. Now in this new season in particular, there is a nice thing where Dan is in danger and you see the concern on Lucifer's face. He literally calls in every single favor he has to try to save him, and I'll talk more about that a little later. But right now I'm talking about the earlier seasons. Also, Amenadiel. Amenadiel seems like a total villain at first. In fact, he does some villain-y things. He brings a man back from the dead to try to kill Lucifer, because he's trying to send Lucifer back to hell. So, but, you know, as time goes on, you see that Amenadiel actually realizes that, he's like, how did I fall this low? I should not be doing these kinds of things. And he kind of like Dan, starts trying to do the right thing again. And then he and Lucifer end up having a really, really bro relationship, which I really like. It's really cool to see them just hang out as brothers. I wasn't expecting us to get any of that when I was watching season 1. I thought, oh, they're just gonna hate each other. But no, they ended up being really good brothers and friends, and I like that. I really like seeing their dynamic, especially because Amenadiel does become an incredibly likable character. Kind of like Dan, he's always trying to do the right thing. And, and because he and Dan both have that trait to them, they actually, in a very good choice, and I think by the writers, they meet and they become best friends, Amenadiel and Dan. Amenadan. And yeah, they have a really good dynamic to them, it's nice to see Dan have a friend who he really needs, and when Lucifer's always picking on him. So yeah, I like that. I like their friendship. I also like the relationship that the therapist character has with everyone. At first, of course, Lucifer's sleeping with the therapist's name is Linda. And yeah, she's a very good-looking therapist, so naturally, Lucifer sleeps with her because he's Lucifer. He sleeps with everybody. He even tries to sleep with the detective constantly, and it doesn't happen at first, but we know it's a will they, won't they story. And the therapist, actually, though, she puts her patients first, so she ends up telling Lucifer, look, if you're going to keep being my patient, we can't keep sleeping together because I legit want to help you. And yeah, that's nice to see about her. She's always trying to help people, and it's a great character to have in a show like this because it's kind of interesting to see the devil go to therapy, even though he almost never listens to her. It's another thing, one of my biggest things about this show is, even though I love this show and I love the Lucifer character, Lucifer is so stupid sometimes. He doesn't listen to anybody. He almost never learns his lessons. He's always making the same mistakes over and over, and even his therapist goes, what is wrong with you? You're doing the same shit over and over. And he goes, oh, so you're saying, and then he goes and does another wrong thing. It's so, I guess it's just played for laughs, but it gets infuriating sometimes when it's dude, come on. So that's one of the kind of annoying things about this show. What else? What character was I going to go into next? Charlotte Richards is another very interesting character. Now, in season 2, the main story is that Lucifer's mother has escaped from hell. Now, I don't know if this is an actual character from the Bible. I don't recall this character. Apparently, the mother of all creation, God's wife. I've never heard of that being a thing before this show. I don't know if they made it up or if they took a story that exists and kind of twisted it, or if this is a story that I just haven't heard. But regardless, it was interesting, the idea of Lucifer having a mother. She possesses a woman named Charlotte Richards. And then, by the end of the show, the mom character leaves and goes to a different dimension. And then Charlotte Richards comes back to life. And Charlotte Richards was actually kind of an interesting character, because at first I hated her, just like, the other character. But I really hated her because she was a criminal defense attorney, smug, condescending, evil woman. She is an evil woman. But they actually give her an arc that's very interesting, and I actually really like the way they do it. So, first off, she actually has some memories of when she was possessed by the goddess of creation, and so she thinks she's going a little insane, and that's why she needs to talk with, Lucifer and Amenadiel and Dan, because she's trying to piece together what happened during that time. And while she's going through that, though, there's a story point that I thought was really interesting. She starts having this nightmare where her family gets killed. Because Charlotte Richards has children and an ex-husband, but then she also has a romance with Dan. She has a nightmare where Dan and her 2 children are murdered by one of the men that she saved from jail, one of the criminals, and that's a really interesting idea. And she says every time she has this nightmare, it's a different one, because she's, obviously defended so many, knowing they were guilty. She knew these men were actual murderers, and she defended them. She, did all this horrible stuff. And that's a really interesting story idea. The idea that someone could change their ways because, the evil that they did might possibly catch up with them I really liked how it was done. Now, one thing I don't like is later they show us the nightmare she had, and honestly, I think it's better if you just leave that to our imaginations. Because when you just left it to our imagination, it was like man, imagine what that must be like. And then we see it, and it's like, it's not as creepy as I imagined. Yeah. So Charlotte actually has a turn. She goes from being an evil, like, horrible person to the exact opposite. She tries to help the police and tries to right the wrong she's done. She even tries to put away some of the people that she kept out of jail. And she does, and she ends up, becoming a really stand-up person. And then she dies. And it's rough. So, that was handled really well. One character who I really like who was introduced in season 3. Season 3 went on a little too long, by the way. There were a little too many episodes there. I think that's part of the reason the show was about to get canceled, because that season really dragged. But I liked the villain in season 3 was Cain. They introduced Cain, and I called it, by the way. I'm very proud to say I called who it was going to be. It was going to be the new, I believe he was the new captain. It's been a while since I've seen this. New captain, and he was played by, I don't remember his name, but he was played by the actor who played Superman on Smallville. And that was cool to see, especially because he has a romance with the detective whose name is Chloe. This guy has a thing for blonde women named Chloe. But yeah, he turns out to be Cain. I called it. Heck yeah. Like, I called that he... At first they say there's someone called the Sinner Man. And I freaking called it was the new captain. It's kind of obvious. You introduce a new captain and a new mysterious villain at the same time. It's like, it's him. Come on. And then when they reveal the Sinner Man's been around for so long... And, like, once Lucifer says the world's first murderer, I went, that's Cain. Cain is the first person to commit murder. I knew who it was. There's still one thing. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. So, like, Cain had this fake Sinner Man to stand in for him. And this fake Sinner Man wanted Lucifer to kill him. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that was ever explained. Why he wanted Lucifer to kill him. I think it might be because angels are forbidden from killing humans, so maybe they were hoping, like, Lucifer's father would incinerate him for doing that. That's the best I can come up with. But yeah, Cain was a really cool character. It was really cool to see him introduced, but his story did go on a little too long. And it was kind of weird because he and Lucifer, like, kind of become friends, even though, like it's like, hey, I'm trying to find redemption. I want to die so that I can go to heaven. It's like, you're not going to go to heaven. You've been a crime boss for decades. You've murdered, tortured, and blackmailed so many people. He's like, yeah, but I don't regret any of my actions. It's like, that doesn't make sense. That's one other thing I don't really like about this show that's a little weird, is they say that you only go to hell out of your own guilt. Like, you go to hell if you regret your actions, if you feel bad about your actions, and you stay there until you don't feel bad about your actions anymore. Well, what about psychopaths? What about sociopaths? What about terrorists who all think they did the right thing? Do they just go straight to heaven after they slaughter dozens of people? What about someone who did nothing wrong but blames themselves for something? Do they go to hell? I mean, they actually kind of say they do in season 5. I mean, I think it's hard for me to think of a better way to handle hell than that, but I don't think this was the right way to do it. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, and then it's kind of weird because when Cain does die, he says, you're not going to go to heaven because I know, he says, yes, I am. I don't regret any of my actions. And then Lucifer says, but you didn't until you killed Charlotte Richards. And you know that was wrong. It's like, was everything else he did not wrong? He was the Sinner Man. How many people died because of him? It's weird. It's a little weird, and it might be part of the reason that the show almost got canceled after season 3. But yeah, there's some weird things in this show, even though I love this show. What else have I not covered? I'm thinking seasons 1 through 3. Is there anything else I didn't cover? Oh yeah, well, season 3 is where Chloe finds out. Yeah, she finds out that Lucifer is the devil, like, at the very end, and then that's the end of the season, and they cut off, and it almost got canceled right there. If it got canceled right there, I think people would have been screaming and rioting in the streets. Actually, I think people were petitioning to get the show back, which is, I think, why Netflix picked it up, so yay, victory! One character I haven't really talked about very much is Maze, the demon, with Lucifer. Now, Amenadiel has a fling with Maze in season 1, and I shipped it, actually. I really like the idea of them getting together. They had good chemistry together, and also, it's cool the idea of an angel and a demon getting together. Like, what does that result in? But then in season 3, I think it was, they just kind of threw that away and replaced it with, like, Amenadiel getting together with Linda, which I thought kind of came out of nowhere. I really preferred the idea of Amenadiel and Maze getting together. But, you know, Amenadiel and Linda are fine. Like, it's nothing I was like, oh yes, finally, those two. Like, I didn't care. Yeah, also the will they, won't they between Lucifer and Chloe, like, gets a little infuriating sometimes, because, like I said, Lucifer's pretty damn stupid and doesn't learn from his actions a lot of the time. He keeps yo-yoing her, like, he's freaking all over her, trying so hard to get her to get together with him. And then once they get together, when one little thing makes him doubt the idea of it being what he wants, he runs the heck away from it and just breaks her heart. And he keeps doing that, he keeps playing just the tip with her. Like, in season 2, what happens is they find out Chloe is the result of a miracle because her mother was barren. And so she prayed to God for a child, and Amenadiel delivered a miracle to her so that she could have a child. And then, so they take that to mean, oh, God created Chloe specifically for Lucifer. I think you're jumping to conclusions there. I was really hoping it would turn out they were wrong about that, like, later God would say, I didn't create her just for you, I created her, and, like, he could even say, yeah, I put her in your path, but I didn't make her for you. I just, like, you know, I thought, well, let's see if these two get together, but they never say that. I was really hoping that would happen. So I guess they are saying that is what happened, like, he created her as a gift for Lucifer, which I think, I don't like that. And Lucifer didn't like it either, because that's when he runs away from the relationship and acts like a complete and total idiot and a complete and total ass, and Chloe's over here with the patience of a saint not getting mad about it. I feel so bad for her. Yeah, but yeah, so, season 3 also has 2 bonus episodes, which are on Netflix. It's got one episode where Azrael, the angel of death, appears, which is kind of interesting. That episode's just kind of there. It's not really a completely needed or hated episode. It's just there. Then they have a what if episode where it's like, oh, what if Chloe's father had never been killed? How would things have gone? And that episode's a little interesting too. Then we get season 4, where Chloe is dealing with the knowledge that Lucifer is the devil, and yeah, it's handled okay, but again, they're playing with the will they, won't they thing again, like, where it's like, Chloe and Lucifer wants to be with Chloe now, but Chloe doesn't want to be with him because he's the devil, but then she figures, oh, maybe I can be with him, and he's like, no, I don't want to be with you now because I found out how you reacted when you found out I was the devil, which, come on, dude, she's gonna react badly to that. I know she like, teams up with a priest to, like, try to send him back to hell, but then she learns that was wrong, so, like, you know, it's like, you know, Lucifer, I don't think you're in a position to be mad at Chloe for everything after all the crap you've pulled. Can you give her a little leeway? Oh, another interesting thing about the show is they changed Lucifer's devil face. Like, I swear, the devil face he has at the end of season 3 and in the seasons after that is not the same devil face he had earlier on. Let me just adjust something there. Boom. Like, it's very different. But I like the later devil face better, actually. Sorry, I'm just gonna... There we go. I like the later devil face better, actually, so I was happy for that change. I think it looked a little cool. Plus, they kind of have a way to explain it, because he loses his devil face for a while, and then it comes back. So I guess you could say it came back a little different. One other thing I liked that they do with this show is they say that angels and some other creatures self-actualize. Like, there's a time where Amenadiel loses his powers and he thinks it's his father punishing him, but they find out later it's just because Amenadiel didn't believe he deserved them anymore, and then later when he believed he did, he got them back. Like, it's a really great way to show that the Lord gives you free will and the ability to make your own decisions and make your own path. I liked that. I liked that a lot, which is a reason I don't like the whole, oh, he created Chloe just for Lucifer thing. It's like, hey, I thought we create our own paths. What's going on here? But yeah, so yeah, season 4, and in season 4, another way to they've been messing with the whole will they won't they thing so much at this point. They threw Cain in there just to be another obstacle between Lucifer and Chloe in season 3, and now in season 4, we get Eve thrown in to be another obstacle between Lucifer and Chloe. Yeah, they say, like, because Eve is Lucifer's ex, and then he and Eve get back. Like, she apparently left heaven because Adam, like, is just a total bro up there, like, with all, like, watching sports and stuff and not paying attention to her, and she's bored with heaven. Which, okay, sure. It's a little, so, and this is where I was gonna say, you remember earlier I said they portray some of the Bible characters in ways that I don't think make sense for their character? Well, I was talking specifically about 2 characters. Actually 3 at this point. One of them was Abel, Cain's brother. This was, in my opinion, the absolute worst one. Because in, the tale of the Bible, Abel was favored by God because he was a genuinely good and caring person who did the right thing just because he wanted to do the right thing. In this show, though, they say Abel is actually, like, Cain says it, which it's fine. Cain says Abel is actually the worst one. Like, it's like, yeah, I get why Cain would think that, but then they confirm Abel is in hell because he is the worst one. What? Yeah, and later, like, they even bring Abel out of hell, and he acts like a complete and total douche everywhere he goes. Like, that's not Abel. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that makes no sense at all. And another one is Eve. Like, the whole, Eve constantly sleeping with Lucifer thing and wanting to kill people. Like, they make it like she's like, ooh, it's such a rush to kill people. This is her character. And she makes Lucifer a worse person when she's around him. It's like, Eve? I know that there's the story of Eve, like, disobeying the Lord at one point, and that resulted in things. But, like, you would think Eve would learn from that, for one thing. And 2, like, I don't know if... I mean, this isn't as bad as Abel, because it's established in the story that Abel is a good person. But, I don't know. I think this is a bit of a stretch with Eve to make her this bad of a person. But, it's not as bad as with Abel. And then another one is Gabriel. They make Gabriel, like, a spy for an evil angel, and, like, helping that evil angel rise in power, even knowing that angel was, like, conspiring against the Lord God. It's like, isn't Gabriel, like, one of the Lord God's most trusted angels? Like, why would she be doing that? I don't know. But yeah, these are the characters that I thought it was a bit of a stretch. But again, they're making the devil the good guy in this story. So it's like, yeah, I guess it's an Elseworld story. I still love the show either way. Yeah, so they have Eve be another roadblock in the will they won't they story, which at this point, 4 seasons in, is getting a little infuriating. But yeah, Lucifer gets together with Eve again, and basically, they break up. Later on, like, when he's like, I don't like who I am when I'm with you, and also, I'm just not in love with you, and so yeah, they break up, and there's also a weird thing with Dan in this season. So Dan was in love with Charlotte Richards, and he blamed Lucifer for her getting killed. So at one point, Dan goes to a crime boss and kind of nudges that crime boss towards, like, wanting to do something bad to Lucifer. Because basically Lucifer breaks the crime boss's son's back because that person murdered a police officer, so Lucifer in his anger breaks that person's back. And Dan goes and tells the crime boss that Lucifer did it. And then he finds out later, wait, that crime boss is going to kill Lucifer. I can't let that happen. What did you think he was going to do, Dan? That is a that is a mafioso. It's a crime boss, and you told him that Lucifer broke his son's back. Did you think he was gonna just like, like, come on, that's bad writing. And also, this is out of character for Dan. I know he was mourning the loss of Charlotte, but I don't think he would have gone that far. Like, you know, like I said earlier, they've established Dan as a very good man. He doesn't, like, fucking try to have people killed, even though apparently he wasn't trying to have him killed, but then he's just an idiot. Like, come on. I actually kind of like the idea of Dan and Ella getting together, because Ella's the most lovable person on the show, and Dan deserves someone like that. But that doesn't happen, but it's okay. It wasn't like it was a huge thing they were teasing us with. And then at the end of season 4, demons rise from hell, and Lucifer has to actually go back to hell to, like, keep them on his leash. And again, they're playing with the will they won't they thing, because now Chloe's like, Lucifer, stay, I love you, and he says, no, I have to go, and yeah. And then we get season 5 part 1, where we have Lucifer's twin brother show up. Again, I don't know if this is an actual character from the Bible. Please feel free to let me know. But I was really worried when I found out that this was the plot, where Lucifer has a twin brother who's specifically there to drag his name through the mud, because I hate misunderstanding stories. I always get so infuriated. Like, I like misunderstanding jokes. Like, I think one of the funniest ways to do a comedic scene is when one person is saying one thing and the other person thinks they mean a different thing. But I hate misunderstanding stories where someone gets framed for something or shit like that, because it's like, we know that's not what happened, and yet everyone thinks that's what happened. But I'm very happy to say that it's wrapped up very quickly, because Chloe is smart. Chloe very quickly figures out that Lucifer's brother Michael is not Lucifer. So again, that's a reason to like her character. She is a legit good detective and is able to figure these things out. And then Lucifer, like, when he finds out what his brother's been doing, he goes to Earth and he, like, scars his brother's face so he can't impersonate him anymore. It's like, good, yes, no more misunderstanding stuff. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is I love the friendship between Chloe's daughter and Mazikeen the demon. That's absolutely adorable. I love that. And then Lucifer's brother reveals to Dan what's been going on. So it's nice that Dan knows what's going on. You know, it's nice to have him in the loop. And season 5, part 1, I have to say, ends with the angels battling each other. And then God comes down. And God is played by the guy from the Allstate commercials. When I first saw that, I was like, oh no. And let me explain why. Because I thought, we all know that's the guy from the Allstate commercials. I was like, yeah, sure, maybe he can play the character, but we're not going to be able to unsee that. Like, we're not going to believe for a second that that's not just an actor in a role. I was wrong. And I'm glad I was wrong. Because in season 5, part 2, I thought he played the role very well, actually. Like, he gets lost in the role, and even though I know that's the Allstate guy, I also believed he was that character. It's kind of like Morgan Freeman in Bruce Almighty. Even though that's a face we all know and a voice we all know, if you're a good enough actor and you're fit enough for the role, we can actually separate that from your character. And I was surprised and very happy to say that I thoroughly enjoyed his performance. I thought he was a great choice to play the man upstairs. So yeah, props to him. Great job. There's also a story where Amenadiel actually has a baby with Linda, and you know, that just kind of goes exactly how you think it would go. You know, though, when God himself came down, I thought, oh, we're finally going to get answers to all these questions. Because actually, you remember I said Lucifer goes back to hell to rule it? Well, later, Amenadiel gets a message that hell doesn't need a warden anymore, so Lucifer can leave. I was like, why is that? I also want to know, did God actually create Chloe just for Lucifer? There were so many questions I want answered. And Lucifer straight up asks him some of these questions. So it's like, we're finally get the answers. And God gives him vague, cryptic answers. I was like, oh my God, I think I kind of get why you're mad at this guy. Like, can we get a freaking answer to a question? But yeah, overall cool character. Now, I liked Season 5 Part 2 overall. But there were 2 episodes that made me a little mad. One is, there's a musical episode. It's a jukebox musical episode. And they explain it by saying God is doing it. I didn't like that they did that. It was so... Every time a song started, it was so out of nowhere, so uncalled for and unneeded. It completely took me out of the episode. That really says something when the Allstate guy is not taking me out of the episode. You know, when I perfectly buy his character and was having a good time, then you ruin it with these stupid musical numbers. And I feel bad saying that because it's so obvious a ton of work went into it, but it's not good. I don't like it. It didn't fit. Like, every time a new song would start, this was my reaction. Oh my God. Every single time. Especially the last one. Because the last one happens at the worst possible time to have a song. Lucifer is breaking down. And in an incredibly well-acted scene, he's breaking down to his father about how hurt he is, about how he wishes he could have a real relationship with Chloe, about how his father doesn't answer his questions, and how he's not even sure if his father loves him. And all I wanted in that moment was for his father to come comfort him and tell him, and finally give him a straight answer to a question. You know what happened? A fucking song started. I was angry. I was like, no, this is not the time for a fucking jukebox musical song. This is a serious scene that I was really into, and you ruined it. You ruined it. Oh, God. Maybe some of you guys love it. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. I did not like that scene. I did not like that they made that episode a jukebox musical episode. It was not well done, in my opinion. Another question that they still haven't answered is, Chloe used to make Lucifer vulnerable whenever she was near him. But for some reason lately, he's not vulnerable when she's near him. And, they said that, he was choosing to be vulnerable around her because I guess he loved her. But he's stopped now? They haven't really established why. Because he clearly still loves her. So he just loves her, but he's actively choosing not to be vulnerable around her. I don't know. I don't get it. It's another question they're not answering. They better answer it in the last season. But yeah, didn't like that jukebox musical episode. Another episode I didn't like, it's called, I think it's called Dan Espinosa Naked and Afraid. This is the Dan punching bag, ultimate punching bag episode. I hated it. This poor guy who doesn't... especially the ending. Horrible ending. Where, Dan is going through the absolute worst day of his life. Constant horrible things are happening to him. And I was really hoping it would end with him finding a way to handle it all, because he is a good man. He is a good cop. And he could probably find a way to do this. Or at least it would end with, all of his friends helping him get through it, and showing him that they legit care about him and they are real friends. It ended turning out that the whole thing was orchestrated by Lucifer as a prank. Fuck, I hated that so much. That's so mean. And why? It's not just a prank. Dan was struck in the head multiple times as part of this prank. This is not just a prank, Lucifer. This is assault that could have ended in murder on multiple occasions. This is not okay. This is not funny. This is not charming. This is not well written. I did not like that episode. That is an episode that should have been cut out of the season. It was bad. That was really, really bad. Okay, other than those 2 episodes, I like this season, though. I like the way that God is done in this season. I think it's pretty true to his character in a lot of ways. Like, you can see how much he cares about people. You see how much he cares about his children. Also, you see how much... Like, there's a wonderful scene where Ella is incredibly sad, and Ella is a devout Christian, so, you know, like... You know that, like, God hears her prayers and everything, and you see him go to her, and without telling her who he is, because obviously he's not going to tell her, he does his best to make her feel better and assure her that things are going to be okay, and it kind of works, so it's a very nice scene. I like seeing that. This is also a season that did something I wasn't expecting them to do. It was done well, and this is the first time I ever cried during this show. Huge spoiler alert. Dan dies in this season, and wow, did not expect that. Like, yeah, the character deaths on this show are handled very maturely, very, very well. Like, honestly, it makes me all the more mad that they had that punching bag episode this season, because this was not the season to have that if you're going to kill him off this season. But yeah, you see how heartbroken everyone is. You see Lucifer tries everything to save Dan, and that's what I want. That's the kind of thing I wanted to see in the previous episode. Like, you see how much they care about him, and it's done very well, and it really bummed me out that he died, because I really liked him. Then there's something that makes no sense. He's in hell, apparently. I guess because he feels guilt. But you know what I was hoping would happen? I mean, I guess it makes a little bit of sense for him to be in hell, because he does feel guilty about a lot of his actions with the way you've made hell in this. I was hoping what would happen immediately after was Lucifer would go down to hell and talk to Dan and get him to overcome his guilt and go to heaven. That's what I think should have happened, and I hope it happens in Season 6. That's what I think should happen in Season 6. Also, this season has God retiring from his duty, and it basically ends on the angels, like, fighting over who his successor will be. And I won't ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it, even though this is a spoiler section. I think you should watch the show. I think you should find out, like, for yourself, like, who his successor turns out to be. And I think you should check out Season 6 when it comes out, because this is a great show. Overall, really love it. There are, obviously no show is perfect. There are things that made me mad. There are things I don't like, and I've gone over them in this. And I really want to hear what you guys think of the show. If you guys disagree with me on certain things, what is your most loved moment, most loved character, most hated moment, most hated character? Did you guys hate those 2 episodes as much as I did? Oh, my favorite episode. I do want to go over my favorite episode. My favorite episode of all is actually a filler episode. It's amazing. It's the episode about the reporter who finds out about Lucifer. The reporter who... Some of you probably know who it is, yeah. I thought that was great. You watch his descent into madness. He's trying so hard. Imagine if you were in his shoes. You found out the devil is real and walking on Earth. What would you do? I thought that was awesome. I like seeing an outsider's perspective on the main characters and how everything's going. So yeah, that's my favorite episode. What did you guys think of that episode? What do you think of the show as a whole? And, if you haven't seen it, you shouldn't have watched the spoiler part of this video. But yeah, you should check it out. I like this show. I like it quite a bit. All right, well, I will see you guys on the next one. Let me know what other shows you want me to check out. Bye-bye.